Good morning, church family. So glad you could join us for a study of the parables, and particularly this one today about what do we call it? We call it the parable of the workers in the vineyard. I'm going to read through it now. If you'd like to get your Bible and read through it along with me, I'm reading from the NIV. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire men to work in his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius, now that's a day's wage back then, for the day, and sent them into his vineyard. About the third hour, we'd say that's 9 o'clock, he went out and saw others standing in the marketplace doing nothing. He told them, "You also go and work in my vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. He went out again about the 6th hour and the 9th hour, noon and 3 o'clock, and did the same thing. About the 11th hour, or about 5 o'clock, he went out and found still others standing around, and he asked them, "Why have you been standing here all day long doing nothing?" They said, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You also go and work in my vineyard." When the evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the workers and pay their wages, beginning with the last ones hired and going on to the first." The workers who were hired about the 11th hour came and each received a denarius. So when those came who were hired first, they expected to receive more. That would only be fair, wouldn't it? But each one of them also received a denarius. When they received it, they began to grumble again against the landowner. "These men who were hired last worked only 1 hour," they said, "and you have made them equal to us, who have borne the burden of the work and the heat of the day." But he answered one of them, "Friend, I'm not being unfair to you. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the man who was hired last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do so with my own money? Or are you envious because I'm generous?" So the last will be first and the first last. What do you think about that? This parable I've read over years and years, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me, and so I just went on to the next chapter. But if we stop and look at this and study it, we see what Jesus was doing. In God's kingdom here on earth, some have more and some have less. All has been given by God. But when we begin to be jealous and envious of other Christians who have more talent, more money, snazzier cars, bigger houses, then it gets to be a problem. God can be generous with whoever he wants to. What we need to do is to thank God for what he has given us, because all things come from God, and work with what God has given us to work with our Christian brothers in our church.